The world turns, and with each turn, a change. And each change makes it more complex, unpredictable, enigmatic. The world keeps turning. And from the Pellicer and Heredia practice, we anticipate everything that is going to happen. Brexit, artificial intelligence, new commercial borders, legal tech. The world keeps turning, and it commands the reliance on international lawyers who are capable of interpreting this new reality with integrity, honesty, and transparency, offering answers to so many new questions. Whatever it is, ask us. At Pellicer and Heredia, we know how.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today on the 16th of November, 2022. And we are very happy to confirm today that we are having very soon a new release law, which is what we call it, the law of the startups, or the new scenario for the Nomad Visa people. Okay. I'm going to introduce today, I've got here on my other side with...
Hello, Ignacio. I don't know, I cannot listen to you very well. I'll try to get the connection better. Hello, everybody.
Okay. Have Michael.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Davies. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you, Ignacio. Nice to see you, Pedro. And welcome to everyone that's going to watch the webinar.
That's very good. Okay, we have Guillermo on the other side as well, just for you to start sending us your questions. Please proceed if you have any questions, even though this new law is a very, which is not a law already solid. Okay, it's a project of law, but we are very confident that it's going to take a start and coming to force on the 1st of January 2023. Okay, special interest for the expat community, or even Spaniards living abroad, being non-tax residents, who are willing to take all the benefits from this very well expected new law. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Pedro. Pedro is an international lawyer, expert on immigration, and he's going to give us a little bit of tips because, as I said, still hasn't been approved, but it's very, very likely is going to be as we're going to inform you today. So I'm going to pass over to Pedro, and then please start sending us all your questions. We'll be able to assist you within 1 hour of our time, and then try to give you the best advice possible. Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, thank you, Ignacio. I mean, obviously, as you said, this is a project. The project has been approved by the Congress. Right now, it's in a different chamber. It is in the Senate. And it looks like it's going to be approved mostly. I mean, maybe it should get some changes, but mostly it's going to be approved in the following month. So obviously, we will be informing you about it. But we would like, obviously, this webinar is the object is obviously to study, to get questions, to at the end to think about what it says this law according to this Nomad Visa or teleworking people that wants to come to Spain to work in Spain through companies that are outside. Okay, well. I will be making some questions and answers in order to understand what this digital nomad means. What is really the aim of this? Obviously, is to attract international capital to Spain, to offer to digital nomads but also companies. Let's think about this law. It is really focused on two pillars. One of them is to create companies, mainly focused on digital, technological companies that is going to be invested in as new companies, or those one has been approved in the last 5 years. And obviously, with these kind of companies, will be some tax deductions. Well, are going to be like quite big in order to, well, if you get investment on these companies, for will be a tax benefit of exempt of 100,000 euros, benefit on your base if you get this kind of visa through this kind of new companies. But apart from that, there are some other tax benefits. For example, there's some tax benefits on stock options that you get some dividends, some shares. I mean, in order to be exempt on being paid through this kind of payments in Spain, from 12,000 euros to 50,000 euros. Well, we will see in the future what is going to happen with that. But today we would like to just focus really mainly in the Nomad Visa for those teleworkers, those who wants to work from in Spain from companies outside. Okay. So what is exactly a digital nomad? It's a person through the internet, and it is I'm reading right now. Telematic means can carry out work or entrepreneurial activity in the right way. Obviously, at this time, as everyone knows, I mean, and Ignacio and Michael, we know that we've been receiving a lot of questions, not this year, but in the past year, because of the pandemic. Many people in the world is thinking about moving to different parts of the world, to different countries, to have a new lifestyle. But obviously, one of the barriers, one of the limits is about immigration. How am I going to get a visa? And about taxes. I'm going to get this, I'm going to be paying the same taxes I'm paying here in my home country. Well, this law is focusing these two items. Firstly, it's about flexibility in order to get a visa as a international teleworking, and also reducing taxes mainly. Okay. Is this going to allow the possibility to work for companies located in Spain? Yes, but you will not be able to get more income than 20% of your worldwide income. If someone comes to Spain and is going to be working through companies outside of Spain, obviously you will have to get at least 80% of your income from companies outside of Spain. Okay. One of the things that we've been receiving a lot in the past is regarding the non-lucrative visa from people from third countries, non-European countries, in order to obtain a non-working visa. But obviously they could work, and this is not said by the law, but they could work being resident in Spain and work through companies outside, with declaring worldwide income and paying taxes accordingly to the scale in Spain, which in many occasions I would say maybe could be higher than the home countries that have. I will anticipate that for non-residents in this case, or residents with a visa nomad, who will be treated as a tax resident, as a non-tax resident in Spain, and will be paying 24% of their income. Okay, that's just to anticipate what will be the tax to be paid. Well, worldwide income, 24% taxes. Obviously, this is not an obligation. You could be able to get the visa in Spain as a nomad visa, and maybe say, well, my income is not too high. Maybe if I go to the scale of a Spanish scale, taxes scale, maybe I'm going to pay less taxes than 24. It could be. It could happen that that if you get a big income, then for sure will be subject to the 24%, in not to higher percentage that we have in Spain as a scale. Could go until almost 50% in some scales. But if your income is not too high, I mean, you are starting on working, we will see the requirements now. Well, you may get, as a faculty, say, well, no, I want to be taxed according to the Spanish tax law as if I were tax resident in Spain. Okay, well, requirements for getting this visa as being an employee or a professional work. You need to have the existence of a real and continuous activity for at least 1 year of the company or group of companies with which the employee has employment or professional relationship. And obviously you will need to prove or credit that this employment or the professional relationship can be carried out remotely. I mean, obviously it needs to be proved. your experience with your company, your employment relationship with the company, or professional relationship with the company, at least 1 year. But also you need to prove that obviously you will be able to carry out this work in Spain once you are physically in Spain. And in the case of existence of employment relationship, proof must be provided by the employment, so the employment and the employer and employee, which is not located in Spain, where you have a relationship, at least for at least 3 months, as well as documentation showing that the company allows the employee to carry out the work activity remotely. I mean, it's not just you need to prove that you have a 1 year experience. You have to show the relationship in the last 3 months, and also at least 3 months, and also you need to show that it's an authorization by the company that you are authorized to work remotely in this case. Okay, I'm going to read carefully and rapidly Articles 77 and 78 of the law we call it Ley de Emprendedores, which is the law that many of you may know about this golden visa. This is a different law, but this new law, startup law, has changed this law about Ley de Emprendedores, which one of them is the investment visa, the golden visa, and now it's introduced this Nomad Visa. Let me read it carefully. It is Article 77 and 78. There are some other articles, but let me read these ones in order to speak about that, and then we will obviously we'll have a discussion on this. It says visa for international teleworking. If foreigners are not resident in Spain and intend to live in Spain, Spanish territory, in order to telework remotely for a company not located in Spain, shall apply for a visa for international teleworking, which shall be valid for a maximum period of 1 year. Unless, and this will happen, the period of time that the worker needs is not 1 year, is less than that, so it should apply for a period of time less than 1 year. Then the visa for international teleworking shall constitute sufficient title to live and work remotely in Spain during its validity. Okay. Well, the visa, you know the difference between visa and residency. Obviously, the visa is to permit to allow, but you will be entitled also to reside and work in Spain. And these rules regarding, so after 1 year, you will be able to renew. It needs to be done 60 calendar days before it expires. And another to renew this visa. Or we call it now the authorization to be resident. And let's go to Article 78. Those foreign nationals who are in Spain on a regular basis, and because of this case, about the Nomad Visa, may apply for a residence authorization for the purpose of teleworking remotely for a company located abroad, which shall be valid through the national territory. The validity, in this case, changes the timing. The validity of this authorization shall be valid for a maximum of 3 years, unless it is requested a shorter period of time. And then whoever holds this authorization, these 3 maximum years of authorization of being resident, may request renewal for periods of 2 years, as long as the conditions that created to be a teleworker, international teleworker, are maintained. Obviously, the requirements that we said before about the relationship between the employer and employee, at least you need to prove and you are authorized to work remotely in Spain. Okay. What else I could say regarding this visa before we start any work? I mean, it is possible to apply now for this visa. The answer is no. At this moment, as I said by Ignacio, it is a project. It is already approved at the project. So right now it's a project. Now it needs to be approved by Senate. And obviously we are in an initial phase, and we understand that in the following months will be approved and some changes will happen. Thank you, Ignacio. I'm going to stop here. This new draft law for startups, I would say for the company conditions and terms, is highly, I would say, a little bit complex on the situation to create the companies, about technology companies, about the authorization by some specific company in Spain to validate those kind of companies. And it has like an ecosystem to create companies in Spain or to attract international companies and talent into Spain. And then we have a Nomad, the international individuals who works for companies outside of Spain that will also be able to be attracted into the Spanish territory.
Okay, Pedro, thank you very much. I'm going to just, I don't know if Michael wants to make any comment, or shall we start and jump over all the list of questions with answers or possible answers? Because as I said, today is only temporary project of law, which is, it did pass the Congress and it needs to go to the Senate. We are quite confident that it will be accepted very soon, and obviously will start taking place on the 1st of January. But bear in mind, all these could change. Michael, would you like to comment something, or any comments down on your experience or whatever?
Yes, I at the moment have as many questions probably as some of the people that are watching.
Very good.
I've read the project of law, which, as you say, has been approved in Parliament already, so it's looking really good. It's still got to be approved by the Senate, so if everything goes perfect, it will be coming to force in its present state, or maybe with some modifications at the beginning of January. I've got a lot of questions. I'm reading through the questions that the people that are watching are asking, and I've actually got some of those questions myself.
Okay.
But one of the main ones, and I know Pedro has looked into this into great detail, because I know, you know, immigration is his thing, and he's the absolute expert. He's probably waiting for some of the things to come through as well to find out the final answer. But one of the things that comes to mind immediately is these people that come over on the Nomad Visa, and let's say they're on these very, you know, these great situation over in Spain, and they're working on their laptop, and let's say that they're working, that all their activity is mainly for customers, for example, in the UK. Do we know how those other countries are going to treat this situation? For example, I mean, if someone is working in Spain on things in Dubai, there's no problem, because there's no income tax in Dubai, so the end of the problem. But if they're working in relation to customers or for a company in Germany or in the UK, etc., I say especially the UK because of Brexit, how is the UK going to treat these people that are sort of working in Marbella, but they're active, you know, they're sort of their customers they're servicing are in the UK? Is the UK going to tax them? Are they going to just respect that, you know, they can just pay their tax in Spain? Do we know anything about that? Or is this something that needs to be looked into in great depth, and perhaps even at some point when we're recommending clients about this, we're going to have to ask them to also ask a lawyer in their own country regarding how it affects them over there? Do we have any answers to that?
That's a fantastic question, Michael. I mean, Ignacio and myself, we were talking about that before, because we would say, okay, well, perfect, that's fantastic. If you have good income, then at least, or maximum, you would be taxed 24%. Or if you don't get too much income, then could be less, and then the scale of the Spanish scale. But what if you have already paid? But what if a company that pays you salary retains some money, deducts some money, and pays to the government in your home country? It is going to be included in double taxation treaty between Spain and this case, but it's going to be deducted as a non-resident tax in Spain and deducted into some payment that you have already done in the UK. Or this payment that you do in the UK, regarding the payment that you do in Spain, this 24% is going to be deducted in the payment which is in the country, home country, and will be at the end refunded to you back. That's a good question. Still do not have an answer. Myself do not have an answer. Obviously, there are two scenarios. At the end, we need to focus on avoid double taxation, and will be paid at this time, at least in Spain, 24%, but I understand will be able to be deducted in your home country. But it's something important. It's a good question, because I still have doubt also on that.
Okay, good. Let's start. Shall we start with? Bear with me, because I know, as Michael stated, we have all hundreds of questions, and obviously this is going to need a lot of time of interpreting the law, even making some clarification. to the office, to the board, to the administration as well. Obviously, no doctrine is everything new, and I'm sure everybody will appreciate that we're trying to give our best knowledge out of this project. Okay, Pedro, Michael, let's start with the very beginning, and then Pedro, I could read them out, and you could say your opinion, or we could create a debate. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the questions. Okay,
Right.
well, first one is from Guy. Thank you, Guy, for in order to give us an answer. Can one switch from a non-lucrative visa NLV to a Nomad Visa? Can the time spent in a Nomad Visa count for these 5 years to become permanent resident? Well, another good question. And let me repeat again, Article 78. We'll read it in Spanish and then I will translate it into English. It says, Artículo 78. Aquellos extranjeros que se hallan en España de forma regular, o through this visa. So, aquellos que se hallan en España de forma regular. And it says, the translation is, those foreign nationals who are in Spain on a regular basis, okay, that give an answer rapidly to say, yes, could be able to be switched into a Nomad Visa. Okay, will be allowed in order to get it 3 years and then renewal of 2 years of a maintain, but that could be possibly done. Okay, so you can switch on regular basis as you are in a different kind of residence into Nomad Visa. Okay.
Yes. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
We've got another one here, Pedro. Can the time spent on a Nomad Visa count for the 5 years to become a permanent resident?
I mean, what it's a good question. I mean, there's the law makes some difference between.
It's from Guy as well.
Getting the visa or the residency, in this case, from the company's attraction. When you create a new company, then those one who represents company in order to get will be from 3 years, 2 years, and once they have this 5 years will be permanent. As an individual or employee of a company, that it looks like it's not going to happen. It's not at this time. As I can see, I can read, will not happen. Will be for 3 years and then renewals for 2 years. 2 years, period of time of 2 years. It's like the golden visa. Remember, the golden visa is 1 year plus 2 years and then plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. It's like non-lucrative visa. It's 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 5 plus 5. It's like the same. In this case, it's going to be a short period of time if you obviously maintain the relationship between you and the company. Okay.
Okay.
Will the Spanish resident? Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to. You read it, Ignacio.
Yeah, we've got another question from Alice there, right? Will the Spanish resident employee create a permanent residence in Spain for the employer?
No, not for the employer.
Right, right.
Some comes. I mean, not for the employer. Maybe
the employer, probably, Pedro. The employer. I mean, the golden visa is always a very good option. The only thing here with the golden visa is that if you stay more than 183 days, you're going to be taxed as everybody else in Spain. But the golden visa for the entrepreneurs, for employers as well, they can still stay less than 183. I would think the best way to do taxing will be controlling that scenario, isn't it? I mean, it's always the best way to do tax planning, controlling to carry on being non-resident, or control the type of visas and the type of taxation, isn't it? Because that's really the point with the Nomad Visa and the startup law, which gives you a possibility of using this extra allowance that the rest of the visas do not have, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Right, Pedro, let's move on. Michael, if you want to stop with any questions that it comes up, it's not a problem. We're going to follow the list of questions.
I haven't said anything about, obviously, what about if I'm not resident or non-tax resident treaty? What about my conditions about wealth tax? There are different regions, and Andalusia, where Michael Davies, there is no, it's been eliminated, it's been rejected, the wealth tax. But for example, where I am, and Ignacio is, we still have a wealth tax. So obligación real, it looks like as a non-resident, it still will be happening. as a non-resident. And also another question that arises to me is about, will I have to inform if I'm resident in Spain, but with this kind of tax treaty, especially for non-residents, we have to inform tax authorities about my worldwide assets as a Modelo 720. And well, this is questions that are still needs to be developed, needs to be created, needs to be by tax authorities discussed. But it's something that, and also another thing, Michael, obviously someone is resident through the Nomad Visa, even though it's treated as a special tax treaty for as a non-resident, when someone comes here, will be treated as the attraction of law of beneficiaries in case of an inheritance happens. So it's something about wills, something about if someone is thinking about this. Also, there are some other things that needs to be checked, and one of them is about wills. Michael is specialized on wills and inheritance.
Yes, well, at the moment, regarding beneficiaries that are resident in Spain at the time that they receive an estate, and it doesn't matter whether they're resident via this Nomad Visa or whether they're resident by any other way. If they are resident in Spain, what they will declare in Spain to the Spanish Inheritance Tax Office will actually be to the region of Spain where they actually live. What they will declare will be worldwide assets, while if they were non-residents, they only declare that the assets that they're actually receiving in Spain. If you're in a region like Andalusia and you're receiving from your spouse or from your parent, the inheritance tax is negligible. In fact, it's nothing for the first €1,000,000, and then you pay a really, really small amount after that. So it's basically a non-issue. But if you're in one of the regions of Spain where there is a higher level of inheritance tax, becoming a resident or not could make a big difference to what you pay in inheritance tax. So the inheritance tax, we could do 5 more webinars on how all this can affect the inheritance issue. I don't know if anyone wants to ask a question about inheritance tax and how the difference between whether you're resident and non-resident, what that makes the inheritance tax, I'll gladly ask, and it will also depend on what region of Spain you're actually going to be a resident in.
Okay.
So it does have some knock-on effects. The business of being resident, non-resident is, there's one thing I think that everyone should take from this webinar is that things are getting more complex, not necessarily worse, because in most occasions it's more opportunity. It's granting us opportunities to pay less tax, less income tax, less inheritance tax, giving us more liberty. And what it is becoming is more complex to follow. So really, you need to consult about your specific situation so that we could go discuss these things. If it's to do with immigration, I definitely recommend Pedro and Ignacio up in the Valencia region. If it's regarding inheritance, you can definitely contact us. That sort of thing.
Michael, actually, we always pray that sometimes the law changes, and my changing Comunidad Valenciana, as you guys are heading, you in Madrid are heading, hopefully, I'm not sure, in short terms, we'll be able to enjoy as many allowances as you guys have. Okay, yes. So let's keep our finger crossed.
Yeah, as you know, years ago, it used to be the other way around. And if you remember years ago, I'd have clients in Marbella and I'd have to hand them over to you up in the Valencia region because I'd have to recommend that they purchase up there because of the more favorable inheritance tax. Now it's the other way. But I think in general, we're probably heading towards less inheritance tax or through all the regions eventually.
Right, Pedro, shall we move on with the questions? Because we're being inundated with questions, obviously. And,
I'm reading right now one from John. It says, hello, thank you, John, for the question. I'm an airline pilot based in New York City. I would like to know whether I will be eligible for a Nomad Visa. I come and go to the US every 2 weeks or so. I think for this situation, a specific situation, I don't think it could be included in a Nomad Visa. Probably, I will have to. Obviously, to see which is the employment contract, where is the base, where do you pay taxes at this time. But I think probably could be included the non-working visas being resident. But I have some doubts on these cases. Well, we have some clients about with pilots or divers in petrol oil stations that works in different parts of the world, and there is a difficulty on this. In this case, I don't know, Ignacio, you may think a different issue, but I think it couldn't. I mean, with the Nomad Visa, I think, my opinion, it couldn't work.
Yeah, the Nomad Visa doesn't look designed for that kind of situation. It doesn't look that's my initial impression about this. If I was a pilot and I was having that sort of half and half situation, my initial advice, until we looked into it more carefully, would be to make sure that he remains a non-resident of Spain for the moment on paper. In other words, he never spends more than 183 days a year in Spain. That would sort of be the off-the-cuff advice that we'd give him.
Okay, right, let's move on, Pedro. Yeah, you went with John, and then the next one I think is
Carmen?
I think
just
I think Alistair,
no?
do you answer to Alistair? Yeah.
Okay, well, Alistair. So thank you, Alistair.
Yeah.
Will you read the question?
Yes, I'll go ahead. Will the employee be required to contribute to social welfare contribution, or be required to take out private health insurance?
Okay, good question about the social security in case that you need to contribute or not. My answer is no, but this does not mean that you have to have a health private covered, because what it says, this law, I mean, there's a different article, or not the 77 or 78, are different ones, that says, okay, everything is good, perfect, but according to the conditions of Article 62. Article 62, it says, regarding, you don't have to have any criminal recourse, you have to have enough financial means, and you have to have access to covered your health system in Spain. As if you don't contribute with the social security system, public system, then you need to do it in a private system. We have explained many times about the conditions, or in order to have the requirements, fulfill the requirements regarding a non-lucrative visa, or maybe the golden visa, regarding, for example, criminal records. Criminal record, you need to show at least that you don't have any criminal records for at least the last 5 years wherever you have been living in the world. And you need to show that you have enough financial means. For one person, will be able to be a minimum requirement for financial means is 27,000 euros, and also you will have to show that for any family member another 7,000 euros. And well, I don't know if there is an answer. I didn't say that, but also we'll be able to move also family. Okay. We'll also be able to include family members. Spouse of members. Let's see if it's not. I don't think it will change, but also we'll be able to do it. But criminal records, financial needs, and the question by you said, I think by Alistair, the private health insurance, that will be required. Why it is required, the financial means? Well, I assume that, okay, you may say, well, I'm a self-employment, or I have an employee. Well, you need to show that you have enough money in order to live in Spain, and that is the minimum, just in case you are fired or you don't get money from clients or whatever. And at the end, Spanish authorities wants to be sure that you have enough money at least to live in Spain.
Mm-hmm. Well, Pedro, we're going to just we did post on the chat like a very simple and straightforward guide for you to read through. You just need to click in there and it will pop up, and then you will have questions and answers. Okay, I know there will be more questions and we'll have to fill in more answers, but we did all this guide very quick so you could have it ready today. And at least it's a starting point until is binding the law when it takes and it comes into force on the 1st of January. Okay, let's move on, Pedro. Next question. I think we've got another one here. What happens if I change employer midway through first year visa? Still eligible to renew for another year? That will be this. I think it was from Alistair as well. What happens if I change employer midway through the first year visa? still eligible to renew for another year. I think, Pedro, it might continue, wouldn't it? I mean, probably changing
Let me read you out.
employee until the renewal, you wouldn't inform, would you?
Exactly. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you did comply with the requirements to start with, and therefore you will comply back again after the first year. So my understanding will be if it changes right in the middle, you did already comply, then on the renewal will be when you need to worry about complying with the requirements. Okay.
you need to, I mean, at the end, you need to show, I mean, the requirements are the following ones. It's like existence of an activity, at least for 1 year with a company or companies that you work, you have an employment, or at least has an activity, these companies. But the relationship between you and employee, as an employee, you need to show an existence of the worker or a professional with a company outside Spain, at least the last 3 months. It's a good question regarding what if I change the company. At least if you are able to show that you have at least these 3 months, obviously, and the company has an activity for more than 1 year, that would be perfect.
Okay. I mean, I think, Pedro, it is important to clarify this type of visa, right? With regards, obviously, to inheritance tax doesn't say anything, so we could understand that they will be technically residents in Spain. Okay, but this is our first understanding. The importance, or the difference between the non-lucrative visa that doesn't allow you working, comparing with the normal visa is you know, employ different companies, teleworker or sorry, Pedro?
I cannot listen to you very well. It's my computer is yours.
No,
Yeah,
I think it's
probably
Ignacio's. I think it's Ignacio's.
Yeah, probably is mine. You've got low connection here. So basically, Pedro, if you could hear me now, what I'm saying, the difference between, well, the aim for this visa is focused on investors, entrepreneurs, professionals, highly qualified, investigators, workers that they are from different enterprise, different companies, and digital workers, right? However, the non-lucrative visa is not focused on that. So this will be specific for them, yeah?
Really, and the administrative requirements are it's going to be reduced in many occasions. I mean, for example, for this pillar of companies like new creation, is going to be, in many occasions, will not be needed a power of attorney and in the notary office. It will be able to be a mandate, authorization of a mandate, or that's for example, in Spain we have this bureaucracy that obligate us to have everything like very formal, and with this kind of situation is going to be reduced. For example, criminal records, as I said before, regarding Article 762 is going to be the last 5 years, but with the root, and this is what it looks like, but until obviously it's something that I still needs to revise and check with what is going to be changed or not in the Senate. But the criminal records will be for the last 2 years, and we'll have to make a declaration by individually that in the last 5 years hasn't made any criminal records. So it's going to be very soft. So not just those ones, and there are some other ones that are going to be reduced all the administrative. Obviously, the requirements, once you put the requirements, will be able to apply telematically. We'll be able to apply if it's like the golden visa, exactly the golden visa. And it looks like it's going to be obviously as rapid as the golden visa.
So Pedro, we expect people lodging this kind of visa from the Spanish consulate?
Yeah, it could be also could be from the Spanish consulate and physically.
Or digital, or physically here, and we will lodge it through on behalf of the client.
Well, let's see what at the end is finalized. We'll be able, the office, immigration office that approves, is going to be approved all the Nomad Visa is the same one as the golden visa. And obviously it is programmed, it is planned that everyone is going to apply for digitally. Obviously, The Spanish consulate will be involved in some way. But normally it's going to be in the authorization of residency. We said before it's going to be for 1 year, but if you are here living for, then the authorization will be telematic. As many other situations right now is happening in immigration office in Spain, everything is through telematic. But yes, it looks like it's going to be everything telematic and rapid, between 10 and 20 days.
Right. Okay, Pedro, let's move on. I think we right. I think because obviously the question was, will you be able to apply for this new type of visa if you're already residing in Spain? Well, if you're already in Spain, you could lodge it telematically at the time after the 1st of January, but we still are not sure, correct, Pedro? It could be probably if you come for 3 months and then do it from here, as we sometimes do with the golden visa, you see?
Yeah, I mean, let me if I'm reading it correctly. You're talking about changing the visa to a Nomad visa. You mean that?
No. What I'm saying, I think what Carmen was asking here is, let's say you are residing in Spain. Well, I think I assume that you come on the 1st of January, and then could you lodge everything through here in Spain? So let's say I get no visas, I get a tourist visa. Well, as a tourist, I just come from the States to Spain in February, and I decide to lodge everything through from Spain. Do you think that's feasible? Do you think like the golden visa we do? Because the golden visa, we're doing this from here.
I understand that will be.
Should be the same.
Let's see how it's developed finally.
Right.
Yeah, Ignacio, just I don't know, one of the things that I think people need to be wary of, okay, it needs a lot of studying, and we need to wait until because at the end of the Senate they could change certain things. We need to be careful, because one of the requirements to apply for the Nomad visa, as I understand it, is that you can't have been a resident in Spain before you request it within the last 5 years. So if that person comes over, they definitely want to make sure that they're just on like a tourist visit and not, and they don't become a resident. Because if they become a resident in any other way, then they cannot apply for the special deal of the Nomad visa.
Correct.
It's only for new residents.
Well, the other thing it could come here, Michael, is as I said, you come from the 1st of January as a tourist, and then you comply with everything, but you're not really a resident, you're a tourist.
You know, that will be okay.
That will be okay. But yes, I agree with you that you cannot be a resident before 5 years before, you know, so that's, we need to be careful on that.
Within the last 5 years,
within the last 5 years. I think it's important people to know that this visa is an extra visa that could only help, could only reduce your tax, could only make your life easier as long as you comply with the requirements. Otherwise, you still have in place the golden visa, you have the non-lucrative visa, you have the work visa, etc., etc. So the only thing you can think of here is, number one, whether you comply with the requirements, which we still don't know. We're speculating here. We're quite sure that this is quite solid, but it's not definite, and therefore we are only just debating here on what is being approved in the Congress. But I think they could always work, Michael and Pedro, on the existing visas. You know, you could only improve. This visa could only improve as long as you qualify. I agree with you, Michael, that if you were not resident last year, if you were resident, then probably you cannot jump on this boat.
In other words, Ignacio, you, Pedro, and me, we can't suddenly become nomad, get a Nomad visa and start paying the lower rate of income tax.
Let's see what at the end happens. This is a good question, obviously, about if you are with a non-lucrative visa will be able to be entitled to. It's a good question. Obviously, I agree with what you say. Let's see how it's going to happen. It's still. We had a Beckham law that said at least you have not been resident in Spain for the last 10 years in order to acquire this benefit, and this kind is going to be reduced to 5 years. The Beckham law has changed into to work into a Spanish company. But I agree with you. Yes, this is correct.
I think we people need, well, the good thing and the good debate that we're creating is for people to start thinking there is a new possibility. Whether if it's you comply with the requirements or not, that's a different story. I really encourage you all to do planning, okay? Not only tax planning, immigration planning, and look things ahead. Because if you could benefit of all these things, that's great. But as we just said, still not binding. Okay, let's move on, Pedro, because we're running out of time, and we're having a lot of questions. I think we have one from Shona. Hello, Shona. Shona is a good friend. Can non-lucrative visa be converted to this one to allow me to work for a US company? Will it affect my time remaining to get permanent residency? Pedro, what do you think?
In this question, I mean, I wish I could answer like I wish. I mean, article, I repeat again. It says that those who are regular in Spain, regularly means that you are not irregular, you are not illegally in Spain, but it doesn't say resident. It doesn't say resident in Spain. It says regular. May we understand that could be understood resident? I think no. I think no. But I mean, I could have a different interpretation.
Right. I think Pedro, in case of Shona, knowing her already, I think she's already with a non-lucrative visa, and I think as you and me know, non-lucrative visa, the consulate will say you cannot work for but we've got doctrine from courts, not from ourselves, from courts, that the judge says that as long as you work for another company abroad, you're allowed to work. So in Shona's case, I don't think it will be necessary because she will not benefit from the tax heaven here, you know, that we all want to be, because she became resident and now she's resident, and therefore she will never have all these allowances. But the question is, could she work with a non-lucrative visa for a US company, Pedro? Well, we already have doctrine in that respect. We'll see. What do you think?
But
you're not positive?
Ignacio, what are the requirements? I'm just reading the question. What are the requirements? At least you have been working at least 1 year for the company. And if this requirement is not fulfilled, the will be rejected. No,
I don't think Shona will be able to get the Nomad visa, but I think she could still work as today, Pedro, the non-lucrative visa remotely.
And not get the benefits of
benefits. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could still carry on having a non-lucrative visa with no the extra allowance that you will have because of the Nomad visa.
Work remotely.
Yes.
From a company
remotely. Yes, that's exactly what I understand from Shona and knowing her case or a little bit of history. Right. Move on. Alistair, yeah, is the employer liable for withholding taxes? Pedro? Well, no, actually, I don't think so, because the employer is.
Well, that's an issue that we should ask to the tax authorities in the home country. Liable withholding taxes, I need is tax deduction.
In Spain. I mean in Spain.
Oh, in Spain, no.
In Spain, no. Right. More thing. Michael, would you like to add anything else, or shall we move on?
No, move on.
You move on. Right. I think we're getting lost here, Pedro. Right. Well, Mike is asking about what is the inheritance tax rate in Alicante. Well, very briefly, I don't know if Michael, you're very into it, but I could just jump into it. We only have 2 allowances. Do you want to run that?
Yeah,
Michael?
that's fine. Okay. Well, so in the Alicante area, it's on our traffic light of red, amber, and green regarding the good, the bad, and the ugly regarding inheritance tax. Alicante is halfway. And if you receive from your spouse or from your parent, the first 100,000 euro is exempt. Then we apply a sliding scale. It starts at 7%, goes up to 34%. But then in Alicante, once you've got the final amount, you get a deduction of 50% if you're over 21. Also, there are many other different allowances available in Alicante for your main home, family businesses, etc. But for that, we'd have to look into the detail of this person in the situation.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. And actually, on your main property, they will have an allowance. Very good. So we'll have to look into the details of the scenario to give you accurate answer. Right, Bernie. Bernie has a question. Will this be just for European people? Well, no, this is for non-European people. Okay, Bernie. So European people have freedom of movement here. And we're talking about the Nomad Visa. I think, Pedro, probably Bernie is talking about European people being non-resident and using the allowances of the startup law, which I think, Pedro, the answer is they could benefit from the tax scenario, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but not from the Nomad Visa, right? Nomad Visa is only for non-European, and the startup law applies to everyone, obviously Europeans, which is a tax allowance for the entrepreneur people. Okay, one of the benefits of that law will be the visas for non-European. But for Bernie,
the definition says regarding the people from the third country, so from the state of Spain. So a third country means any other country. It doesn't say extracomunitario or in the European Union or not. It doesn't say that. Anyway, but right. Yes, about taxes could be able to be benefit, but not with the book. Okay,
Michael, we have one question for you here regarding inheritance tax. What is, I don't know if you will know that from the top of your head, what is in the País Vasco? We're regarding inheritance taxes, Guipúzcoa, just outside of San Sebastián. I don't know if you came across with
this. The País Vasco, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I don't know. Off the top of my head. Right. I have handled the odd inheritance up there, but some years ago now, and I can't remember off the top of my head. As you know, they sort of change them every 4 or 5 years. So we'd have to look it up.
Right.
If the question is here, I'll have a quick look and answer. It's on the right, is it on the?
Yeah, it's here. It's Rebecca.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Suzanne has a question here, Pedro. So if you are self-employed in the UK, where normally you would do self-assessment, well, that's a question actually, where normally you would do self-assessment and pay UK tax. She's asking, can you pay just taxes in Spain? Being self-employed in the UK, I understand that the question is she's being self-employed in the UK, doing self-assessment, pays UK taxes. Can you just pay tax in Spain? It depends, Pedro, isn't it? It's a dual taxation treaty and the type of work that, because if it's compulsory according to a dual taxation treaty to pay in the UK, she will not pay in Spain. I don't know if Guillermo could look into this, Suzanne, question, but I think self-employed, if she's resident in Spain, she should be doing everything in Spain. But okay, more questions. Susan, can I start up any kind of business after staying in Spain for 2 years on a student visa? I think that will be a work visa, Pedro, wouldn't it? Or what do you think?
Also want to about the student visa in order to increase the timing of work, in order to be a student, but also working in Spain, in order to be able to get some income. It's going to be also increased. That's also a good thing. But I cannot write out the details of the student visa. I think it's increased until also, higher rate until the 3 years time. Also, we'll be able to be, if I remember very well, it will be up to 80% or 40 hours per week. I think it was like that. Also around between maximum period, I think it was 30 hours to be able to work in Spain per week in order to be able. So it is increased and expand the timing that you will be able to work, but also with a student visa.
Ignacio, for our friend from the Basque Country, we could just answer the question quickly. If she's receiving the inheritance from her spouse or from her parents, the first 400,000 euro is going to be exempt. And then in the Basque Country, you just pay a flat rate of 1.5% of the amounts above the 400,000. So nothing to worry about
nothing stressful.
It's a bit cold. It's a bit cold up there, but it's as far as inheritance tax, it's generous with exemptions.
Right. Mike is asking questions here about, and this is Mike. I'm just attaching again the guide with questions and answers. Probably, obviously, as you could imagine, the law didn't come into force yet, and we're already trying to guess all the questions and answers. Okay, this is as quick as we could do it, but bear in mind that this is not binding yet. Okay, this is, I insist, because all this here we're speculating on the final version of the law, but at least it helps you guys to do planning, which I think is the most important thing and the point of today's webinar, for you to start thinking what is the best case scenario. Right. Anything else, Pedro, that you would like to say? Because we're running out of time. Mike.
Yeah, many questions. We will be sticking up time and try to answer. We get the email from all of them, but yeah, there are
right. If you could, Pedro, Michael, some people would like you to type your email address in the chat, because he's on the screen. I think Ibtisan is asking, but if you could email here, just in case, Michael, your telephone number, and just for all the audience, I would say this is just the new beginning of a new law, right? Obviously, the other laws being experimented many years ago. There is doctrine and a lot of solid answers. Today, we are interpreting the law the way it's put through the Congress. It needs to pass through the Senate, and then it will have to start coming into force on the 1st of January. Okay. Obviously, as Michael said, we'll be doing more webinars about this, because this is a new beginning of a lot of people moving to Spain to start a new life with a new possibility, with a nice umbrella from a tax point of view as well, and visa. Right, I'm going to pass over. Michael, anything else, Pedro? No?
Well,
hundreds of questions, yes, but
we wish we could answer most of them, or just to read them and speak about them, because many questions I understand we don't have an clear answer at this time. Yeah. In a few months, but it's getting this Nomad Visa is getting it's going to be done I expect in a couple of months. So everything will be starting from next year.
Right. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Juan Fran, and he's going to end up. Obviously, Alexa doesn't have the answer yet. We'll have to upload all these questions and answers. But you could just speak to Alexa and ask questions. We have 100 questions uploaded. You've got the blog in the website, and you have different and many webinars recorded, the three of us, in our website. So it could give you a lot of information for you to prepare a nice move. I'm going to pass over to Juan Fran, and hopefully we'll see you in 15 days. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching, and thank you, Michael, Pedro, for your time as always. See you soon. Thanks. Over to Juan Fran. How to buy a house in Spain as a foreigner.
To buy a property in Spain in accordance with the legislation, the first step is to check the legal situation.
What taxes do foreigners pay in Spain?
In total, there are 5 Spanish taxes that every foreigner is obliged to pay. 1.
How are inheritances regulated in Spain?
Inheritance tax is a progressive tax.
Where to apply for the Golden Visa?
The first thing you should do is go to the Spanish consulate in the country where you live. There you can request all the necessary documentation to obtain it.
thinking about it. That hidden cove, just for you. That little hideaway in the mountains. Or that beautiful postcard town. Dreaming about enjoying the fresh air again. Feeling the sun on your skin. Exploring. Walking. Traveler, there is no path. Paths are made by walking. Never stop dreaming. Spain will wait.